Is called to order. Clerk will call the roll.
Here.
Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
Ms. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Commission.
City manager.
Yep. Yes, Commissioners. Tonight we have one item for our work session, and that is a report from NOPEC. And with us tonight is the Executive Director and CEO of NOPEC, Chuck Kuiper. So I'm going to ask Chuck if he wants to come up here to the... You're welcome. Yeah.
Something to turn this on, or you've got it all taken care of. See that it's working. Well, hello, and thank you for having me. It's been, I was trying to think. I think it was right before the pandemic the last time I was here. So it's good to be back, and I appreciate that you all arranged good weather on my drive back. So that was very nice. I wasn't quite aware of what I needed to do today, so let me give you a little kind of background and then share with you where I think we're at today. I'm going to have to put my cheaters on because I can't even sign my name anymore without those. But as you all know, back about 8 or 9 months ago now, we announced that we were going to take all of our electric customers and put them back into the safety net that the state has provided in this thing called the Standard Service Offer. We did that because of the price spike that happened as a result of the war in Ukraine, and probably at the time the hottest summer in a long time, followed by really cold predictions of the winter, which of course the winter part didn't materialize, but our price was proposed to be pretty significantly higher than what it might have been without those factors. So we took the unprecedented, unheard of step of putting 550,000 customers, including all of our customers from Springfield, most of our customers from Springfield, I'll come to that in a minute, back into the Standard Service Offer, where they save significantly from what we would have paid, or they would have paid through us. One of our promises to you is to always be competitive, and when we couldn't be competitive, even though it was a challenging walk, we meant to honor our sense of public service that we share with you, and the promise that we made to you, which was to basically do no harm. So there was a lot of uproar, particularly from Dynegy, who essentially sued us at the PUCO. They would say they didn't. They would say that they followed a process. Maybe they did. They were the only folks following it, though, so that felt an awful lot. And ultimately, the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio determined that NOPEC did what we said we did, violated no rules, no regulations, no laws. And they certainly allowed that. So as promised at the end of last summer, we began returning our customers. Your citizens have been getting opt-out letters from us for about probably 2 or 3 weeks. The opt-out window actually closed yesterday. Just to give you a sense, probably when we put customers back, there were roughly 14,000 Springfield residents and small businesses that were receiving that service. You also probably know, and we'll talk about this a little more, that we have a handful of options for programs that people can participate in. Over the years, most of our customers have told us that one shoe doesn't fit all. Some people want and are comfortable with our normal program price. Some people always want a price that's better than that price to compare. Or Standard Service Offer, we have a product that's always 6% below that. Some people want a 1-year fixed rate. We have those. Some people want a 2-year fixed rate. We have those. Some people want 100% renewable energy content or green program. We have several of those. And all of your residents who were in any of those programs, which were all competitively priced still, we served them mostly through, and are serving still today, probably a couple dozen, I would guess. Our price to compare program ended at the end of the year, and so that stopped at that point. But everybody else who was on 1 and 2 and green rates continued to this day. So We're happy about that. I will also tell you that you all have some NOPEC Energized Community Grant funds available. I just want to make sure that I bring that to your attention. Total, since you've been in our program, we've awarded $305,000, give or take. You have an available balance of about $76,370 and some change. That will expire and go away if it's not dispersed by 11/30 of this year. So we want to make sure that we brought that to your attention, and we can work with Mark and whoever else to make sure that I think you've done everything necessary to secure those dollars through that period. So there's nothing that's lacking. No one dropped the ball, but I just wanted to make sure that you all knew about that. So let me tell you a little about, I brought some handouts. I wasn't sure what to bring. So I want to give you all some electric enrollment facts, and then I want to give you some pricing facts. I'm going to keep a couple so I can refer to them. And then I think I brought a little over a dozen of each of these. Should I hand these to Jill, or how about I'm going to start with the pricing page, which is easy, and then we'll talk about the electric enrollment facts. Incidentally, we did both email and snail mail a fairly large packet of information prior to the mass mailing that went out. We mailed 640,000 electric opt-out for folks. And we'll talk about that process in a minute. But let me start with pricing, because that's usually what people want to know before anything else. How much is it? What's it going to cost? So this one pager is the answer to what all of our various 7 programs are that are applicable at this point. Our standard program price, and this price will be good from the June meter reads through the end of the year, is 6.45 cents compared to Ohio Edison, which is what you all have currently. They're about, I think, 5.89 right now, but they're going to go to about 12.5 cents. So almost double this rate the 1st of June. They are caught in the same inversion that NOPEC was caught in. It just caught up to them much later. That was one of the things that we pointed out, and we believe that we were probably the first organization to officially point that out over a year ago to the PUCO. We could see it coming, and we just had a hard time getting out of the way of the bomb drop, right? So, I'm sorry, was that a question? No, okay. So, 6.45 cents is the price that NOPEC's re-enrollment price will be. That will be available for 6 months. We did not lock it in longer because our intel says that the market should flatten some more, which means we hope to be able to have pricing a little less expensive after that. If it starts to go up, we'll lock it quicker. But right now, we believe it's going to go down. So we've locked it for 6 months for folks. We have a monthly variable rate, which we call the MVR rate. And by the way, all of these other things, the opt-out letters that you all received and your citizens and small businesses received, tell everybody that they have these options. They're available on our website, or they can call to the call center and get that enrolled in those. Any customer can join or leave or move in and out of any of these offers for free at any time. There's no penalties. There's no early termination fee. They can leave the aggregation altogether for free if they want, if they find a better deal. Or if they like one of these other options better, meets their needs better, then they can go back and forth between those as many times as they'd like. Doesn't cost them anything to do it. So if somebody were to sign up for a 24-month fixed rate and the prices went way down in 6 months, which is what I'm hoping they will do, they could look at that and go, I want to go to that, and we'd, of course, move them there immediately. So they just have to tell us that's what they want. So the monthly variable rate follows the Ohio Edison standard service offer rate. That's what the apples to apples chart calls the price to compare. That rate is going to be over 12 cents starting in June, July, and August. I think it's going to be probably closer to 11 cents the rest of the 9 months after that. Ohio Edison has always had a summer shape to their pricing curve, so they charge a little more in the summer when you're using more, generally speaking. Some people prefer a 12-month fixed term, so you can see that's going to be 6.875 cents. The 12-month fixed term is 6.850 cents per kilowatt hour. And then the last three are the same three products as the standard price 12 and 24-month fixed, but with 100% renewable content, or what we would call green content. So those are Green E certified, a renewable energy credit, or RECs. They are generated as a part of the Earth Era program that our supplier NextEra has. They are predominantly wind and solar in the United States. Soon, I hope to be able to tell you that it's Ohio solar. We have contracted with NextEra to construct in Circleville a 70 megawatt nameplate solar plant. Our customers would be able then to get all of the renewable assets from that programs. We have a number of cities that want that as a default program. Springfield is not on that list, but if somebody wanted that, we could tell you about that. But the city of Cleveland, city of Lakewood, city of city of South Euclid, Cleveland Heights, I'm forgetting somebody, all have 100% default green product for their residents because that's what they want. The last time we talked about that here, that was not something you all wanted, so we didn't do that. But if your residents want that, they can get that. So we do anticipate that we will hopefully start construction on that plant. It's now at the Power Siting Board for their certification. Hopefully before the end of 2023, we'll get an approval there and then can begin construction with the construction season in 2024. We are negotiating in a couple of other places here in Southeast Ohio, well, maybe South Central Ohio. And with a little luck, we are also talking to a couple of folks about brownfield sites in Northeast Ohio where we may also build some. So our game plan generally is to have between 30 and 35% of the energy produced for our customers to come from Ohio projects that we back and build, or have built. We're a government, and as a council of governments, we're not allowed to borrow, have credit, those kind of things. Probably know that. Before I move on, any questions about price?
Any questions?
Where would you put Ohio compared to other Midwest states in terms of the use of renewable energy?
Well, I think that there's a threefold answer to that, Commissioner. There is a large urban appetite for greener facing things. So if you look at Columbus, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Youngstown, Warren, I haven't heard so much in Toledo. I won't put them in that category. All of those other communities have sustainability or ESG plans of some kind, and many of them have contracted, Columbus has, Cincinnati has, to have solar farms built on their behalf. So I think there's an appetite there. Leading industries who are attempting to demonstrate their environmental, social, and governance responsibility, or ESG, like the Walmarts of the world, like the Googles of the world, the Amazons of the world, are operating in this state as well as all the others. And so they have commissioned and or bought up all of the renewable energy credits that they can. And then there's the rest of us who might like it, but the state of Ohio in its infinite wisdom has not made siting such projects very easy. So I'm not trying to point any fingers. I'm just saying it's very, very challenging to site new solar, and new wind is impossible. Solar is nearly impossible to site.
as I've traveled to other states in the Midwest, I'm glad you confirmed what I suspected, and that was, in terms of renewable energy, Ohio's behind the curve. And those are a result of political decisions being made in Columbus. And I think that that's important for the people of this state to know that we're trailing other Midwestern states. I'm not comparing us to coast. I'm comparing us to other Midwestern states. And we're clearly behind.
If you look at what's going on in Pennsylvania, for example, where they have companies that are building windmill blades. See them on our roadways all of the time. They're being shipped through here, but they're not being erected. Indiana, Illinois, have huge factories that are building and composite component parts for solar things. Those industries are not settled here, they're settled there. So I think that we did miss the initial part of that curve, and I fear that we may miss more of it. One of the things I'm particularly proud of when we negotiated for the Circleville Solar project that we hope to have built, we negotiated to have an educational facility on site that we will staff. Our intent is to not only do the STEM things that middle schoolers and high schoolers like, but we will likely fund a couple of permanent internships for people who are part of county training programs or county high school programs where there's some kind of vocational piece, so that we can try to get a number of our residents and young people into those trades as they're emerging. That's kind of one of the goals. We have hopes of doing that on each of the sites where we build one, so that we will have the ability to take young people and get them trained. We've talked to a number of the electrical unions, et cetera, and as those things come to being, we think we could help position at least NOPEC member community young people to be competitive. And I hope it's in this state. The
I have a
long
question
answer,
also.
I apologize.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You spoke earlier that 9 months ago when the bottom kind of fell out, 550,000 were turned back over to the standard program.
Correct.
That's many, many more than Springfield, Ohio. Can you give me a number of our residents that you were servicing at that time?
Yeah, about 14,000.
I'm sorry,
About 14,000.
14,000?
Yes.
Of those 14,000, when you sent your letters out for them to accept, they didn't have to do anything if they wanted to stay with you because of that.
Correct.
How many left and came back?
I don't know the answer to that yet. I could probably tell you how many we mailed, but I didn't think to drill into that. My guess is that we mailed to more than the 14,000. So we would have mailed to anybody who was eligible. We asked the utility to give us by voting precinct, actually. We've figured out how to get this
So the
without
reason that
many
I'm
mistakes.
bringing that up to you
Yeah.
is because NOPEC, your letter was dated April the 3rd. I received it April the 19th,
Mhm.
okay? And you had quoted the 6.45. Well, as you stated earlier, Ohio Edison was at 5.83, or whatever the heck it was. Well, the next Sunday, believe it or not, the Springfield News and Sun ran an article. And it said NOPEC's going to be number one, period. They're going to be back low, low, low. And Ohio Edison is going to be 12.75. But the next 2 days later is when you had to opt in or opt out.
In 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Well, it just had delayed on the day. You had till May the 2nd
Okay.
at that time. Because
Yeah.
again, I didn't get my letter till the 19th. So I just want to make it clear that when the 90 day ago, when all hell broke loose, and there were a lot of people hurt in Springfield.
Absolutely.
Tremendous electric bill. Okay? And we as a commission, I kind of took that personally because I recommended that we aggregate with you all. Well, I was just wondering how many have come back, if they're going to come back at all. And even though Ohio Edison is going to be higher for a period of time, when is it going to, the average person just doesn't take the time to look at this.
That's a true statement.
I know. They don't take the time to look
Yeah.
at it until they run into me at the restaurant and raise hell. And so at the end of the day, but I'm talking hundreds of dollars in some of these people's electric bills that are on fixed income. And we didn't even know it ourselves. So again, I don't have a real comfort level here. I just don't. And I'm anxious to hear all about it because I don't have a real comfort level with Ohio Edison right now either. Okay,
appreciate
because
that.
right after you announce, then it's in the paper that they're going to go sky high when people were halfway comfortable with them at 5.338, 5.48. So I guess I just had to get that out was how many really came back and are they going to come back?
Commissioner, I'll give you the numbers as soon as I have them, so
Okay.
I'll take that as a to-do.
Thank you.
I would guess we mail to what's called the general governmental aggregation list, or affectionately in this business, we call it the GAG list, GAGG. And my guess is that we probably mailed to 15 or close to 16,000 members of your community, including counting small businesses. Typically, what happens to be eligible, you're just in that safety net program. You don't have a direct arrangement with somebody else. If you do, then you wouldn't be on that list. So we can tell you, I can tell you by what we've seen that it looks like it's on par for what our normal curve would be, which is about 92 to 94% of the people end up staying once they get the letter. And my guess is Springfield won't be too far off one way or the other from that number, but let me chase that down. I probably, the opt-out period ran through yesterday, end of business, and now we'll begin to enroll people. The next step, once people get enrolled, by the way, is that they'll get a notification from First Energy that will say, hey, you've been enrolled as a part of your community's aggregation. Are you sure that's what you want to do? So they get what's called a rescission letter. All of those people will be getting one of those probably starting maybe as early as Monday or Tuesday of next week, I would think. So don't be surprised if your information continues. We can make sure that Jill has all of our contact information. We voluntarily will take any of the calls from any of your people. And if you'd like me or someone on my staff to call one of your constituents, we think of them as our constituents, and we'd be happy to do that. We've done an awful lot of that during this period, as you can imagine. I will offer what I've offered in other places, which is a sincere apology for the confusion that this cost a lot of people. I believe in the long run, even though folks did have to, in some cases, pay a larger bill, that larger bill was typically related to people who had budget billing plans, and they just came through the summer where they were paying down here but using up here, and then they had to reconcile. For those folks that did call about that, we did have the ability to finance that for them for up to a year, and about 15,000 people did take that option. It's about 8 or 9% of our people who have a budget bill, generally speaking. So that said, I do apologize for the confusion. I think in the long run, from where we would have been able to have people from a price standpoint, everybody was better off. So the confusion was part of the price of making sure that everybody was safe and didn't have to pay way more. So think about having to pay essentially double what they paid all winter long because we left them there through this period of time. And we did not want to do them that. We thought that would break our promise to you way more than the discomfort of the confusion, and way more than the discomfort of one billing cycle at a higher rate, which is typically what it was. I'm not happy about it. I know you're not happy about it. One of our promises to folks like you is we like to make sure that your trip to the grocery store is to get your milk and get home and not get accosted by 25 angry people because you got a bad NOPEC bill. And we totally get that. So hopefully that answers that a little bit. Let me switch to the second piece of paper that you have, which is facts for the 2023 electric enrollment. I'm not going to go through this point by point, but I wanted you to have these so that you can answer some questions as they go along. These are all posted on our website. They are, you can duplicate them and hand them out to people if you'd like. These were a part of a packet that were mailed to everybody earlier, along with this document called Comparing Energy Rates, which I'll leave for you all, and another one called How to Read Your Energy Bill, so that folks can go out and make a knowing choice about what they're looking at when they look at it, so they can make an informed choice. Ultimately, this document kind of explains kind of the charges. So what we are is a group of governments, 240 altogether, about, I think, 191 or 2 are of electric communities. The vast majority of our communities are join us for both natural gas and electricity, but about 190 of those communities are electric communities. We don't receive public funds. No one pays a bill for us. We do get a fee that is a part of what everybody pays on their electric bill. That's how the supplier gets paid, and that's how the aggregator gets paid. NOPEC operates between all of those communities on about a $2.25 million budget a year. We, as a council of governments, you all have an opportunity to present to select a representative. It has been Mr. Bechtel for a long time. Thankfully, I've been. Not only is it fun to know Mark, and is he a great board member, but he's a fisherman, which is something near and dear to me. So we connect there as well. But our General Assembly is responsible for 3 things. It's responsible for deciding the rules under which we would commonly govern ourselves. We occasionally are asked to think about changing those. That requires a supermajority vote of that group of people. They're also responsible for electing who among them will serve on our board of directors, and finally responsible for approving our budget every year. So all of the programming has to get looked at by those folks on an annual basis. We do live stream that meeting, and it's also in person. So it happens always about a week after Election Day in November every year, give or take. So this document talks a little about what you need to do to opt out. Let's talk about that process for a second. Generally speaking, we have only ever allowed folks to fill out the postcard, stick it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and mail it to us. After a bunch of research and finding out that actually AEP had been given an opportunity to have a phone opt-out, we were able to get the PUCO to approve a phone opt-out for us as well. Our staff at our call center, which is in Michigan, it's normally about 30 people. We had about 2.5 times that, 24 hours a day to take those opt-out calls. We got very little mail in the form of opt-out and just an avalanche of telephone calls. With PUCO knowledge and approval, not formal approval, informal approval from the staff, we had people who were waiting 2 to 4 hours to get through to a person to opt out. Doesn't matter that all they had to do is fill out the form, put a stamp on it, and mail it. We gave them that option. They wanted to use it. So we were able to get the PUCO staff to approve the additionality of allowing us to have people take a picture of their completed opt-out form and then upload it to a landing page on our website. And we now have taken about 20,000 opt-outs via the computer. That's also, I think no one's probably been able to do that in the state until this situation. So uncomfortable and a little wieldy for our customers, I'm sad to say. We certainly weren't pleased about that. Once we realized that kind of a mass mailing was happening, we had this other option up and running within 36 hours. So we were pleased about that. I think that it relieved it. We also have a situation where folks can leave a message and people would get called back within 24 hours. The number ended up being closer to 30 hours, to be honest with you. But I can tell you as of today, we're back at normal call levels. We're back at normal return call time, which is typically under an hour. And we've taken around 30 or 35,000 phone opt-outs as well. So we painful learning curve for everybody, most especially our customers, unfortunately. But we think that we've managed to accomplish that. And the other news that I will tell you is that people can always opt out. I've already said this earlier, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They can opt out if they so choose or move to be around things. So if somebody gets enrolled who didn't want to get enrolled, then they have the opportunity to get out at any time. Hopefully in the interim, compared to what they would be paying, they would save a little dollars. And I will tell you one final situation that happened to the question that you gave or brought up, the point of view that you brought up earlier, Commissioner. We have now had hundreds of people who got the email or got the mailer, filled it out, opted out, either called and opted out or computer uploaded it or sent it in. And then saw a news story like the one you referred to earlier, where they found out that we were going to be probably around half of what Ohio Edison's going to be. And they called the call center to say, how do I stop that and get re-enrolled? So we've managed to re-enroll and stop the opt-out of hundreds of people who asked. Once we start enrollment, that won't be so easy. So hopefully that confusion's gone. But so we're dealing with a number of things in this opt-out that we haven't ordinarily. On the issue of kind of what's next, we believe that unless something monumental happens again, that Europe's figured out their path for natural gas and electricity that is causing the market in the United States to not be as frightened as it was 9-10 months ago. I could walk through what all those things are, but we think it's a better outlook. Natural gas producers are continuing to produce in spite of an already very soft market. So we think that means that electricity, which is produced with natural gas, is going to be likely less expensive in the immediate future, which is why we haven't locked our own rate, because we believe it's just as likely that they'll go down. And we have a crew that's watching 24/7 so that we can take advantage of whatever the market's going to do and make sure that our people. I'll stop there. That was a lot. Other questions?
No. Any questions? None.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'll leave these other documents. I'll just give them to Jill. One's comparing energy rates, how to do that, and one's how to read your energy bill. And we found, citizens have found those.
Thank you, Chuck. Commissioners, that's the only work session item we have tonight. So we can adjourn the informal, and then we have 2 proclamations before the formal meeting begins.
Motion to adjourn the informal.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrad?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Commissioner Phillips has a proclamation.
Whereas every year on the second Saturday in May, letter carriers across the country collect non-perishable food as a part of the nation's largest one-day food drive, distributing the donations to local food banks. And whereas the letter carriers Stamp Out Hunger food drive is just one example of how letter carriers work to make a difference in the lives of those they serve. Since the pilot drive it was held in 1991, more than 1.82 billion pounds of food has been collected. And whereas we recognize all letter carriers for their hard work and their commitment to their communities, all the food collected in our community stays in our community. And we support carriers' efforts to help those in need in our community. And whereas We also recognize the noteworthy milestone of 31 years that the National Letter Carrier Food Drive celebrates in 2023. And now, therefore, Mayor Warren R. Copeland, Mayor of the City of Springfield, Ohio, and President of the City Commission, does hereby proclaim May 13th, 2023 as Letter Carriers Food Drive Day in Springfield. And we urge our citizens to support the food drive by placing non-perishable food items in or near your mailbox on Food Drive Day. Your letter carrier will pick it up while delivering the mail and deliver it to the Second Harvest Food Bank. Together, we can help all and feed our hungry neighbors. Thank you.
Is there anybody here?
Is there anyone here to accept this? Thank you.
Is that all right to speak? All right. Good evening, Mayor Copeland and members of City Council. My name is Brian Dewell. I am the local branch president of the National Association of Letter Carriers, Branch 45. Over the 30-year history of the National Food Drive, Letter Carriers and the United States Postal Service has collected over 1.82 billion pounds of food in the United States. More than 35 million Americans, equaling approximately 1 in 8, are unsure where their next meal will come from. Over 12 million children are impacted by hunger. Nearly 5.2 million seniors who live on fixed incomes are often too embarrassed to ask for help. As the summer comes, most school meal programs are not available, so the need for food grows. Each year on the second Saturday in May, letter carriers across the country collect non-perishable food donations from our customers. Participating in this year's letter carrier Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive is simple. Just leave a non-perishable food donation in a bag by your mailbox Saturday, May 13th, 2023, and your letter carrier will take it and do the rest. Last year, we collected about 15,000, I believe, pounds for Second Harvest Food Bank. So we look forward to everybody's support, and also I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
While I'm here, I just wanted to add that actually Second Harvest Food Bank today helped me in an emergency situation at 0 hour. They closed at 4. We were down there at like 3:58. So the donations definitely help because they are there ready to help our citizens. Thank you.
I also have a proclamation. Whereas the Salvation Army, an international movement, is an evangelical part of the Universal Christian Church, and its message is based on the Bible. The ministry is motivated by the love of God. Its mission is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in His name without discrimination. And whereas the Salvation Army, birthed from a deep love and compassion, was founded in 1865 in London, England by William Booth. The movement spread quickly, reaching Ohio by 1883, and then more specifically settled in Springfield in 1885. Today, the Salvation Army is active in virtually every corner of the world and serves in 132 countries, offering the message of God's healing and hope to all those in need. Whereas the Salvation Army has been faithfully serving the people of Springfield now for 138 years, we offer social services for all of Clark County that includes food, rent, utilities, clothing, and Christmas assistance, transformational programs for children and teens, a family martial arts program that breeds leaders, a summer day camp for children with special needs, overnight camps for inner city children, a task force that focuses on our nursing home population, a warming shelter, and a drop-in service, And whereas Christian worship and growth gatherings each week for people for all walks of life. And whereas the National Salvation Army has been celebrating every year since 1954, when President Eisenhower proclaimed a white week to recognize the organization's humanitarian effort. Now, therefore, I, Warren R. Copeland, Mayor of the Springfield, Ohio, and President of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim May 8th through 14th, 2023 as Salvation Army Week in Springfield, and urge our citizens to recognize the dedication of the Salvation Army employees and volunteers who work tirelessly to provide services to those in need in the Springfield area. And I have signed this proclamation. Is there anyone here from Salvation Army?
Good evening. My name is Scott Krisner, and I proudly serve the Salvation Army here in Springfield as an advisory board member and the treasurer. I would first like to thank Mayor Copeland, the city commissioners, and all guests for affording us the opportunity to tell our story here this evening, not to mention the recognition. Having long thought of the Salvation Army as those bell ringers at Christmas, I was not intimidated in the least when asked to serve on the advisory board 11 years ago, thinking, one little project each year, sure, how hard can that be? Needless to say, I have never been so happy to be so wrong. I knew early on I was in trouble when learning the Red Kettle was first introduced in San Francisco in 1891. This organization is serious, I thought. From providing year-round care for the homeless to weekly spiritual guidance for desiring individuals, through a summer day camp for kids with special needs, and by showering those in need with love, understanding, and gifts at Christmas, our local corps provides community outreach while glorifying the Lord's name. For me personally, the moment I knew I was serving Him in the right place came several years ago while helping with Santa's workshop. My friends, I and my family are deeply blessed, and our children have always enjoyed a bountiful Christmas season, culminating on Christmas Day. It was a bit overwhelming emotionally the first time I saw the amount of items being organized for distribution to some wonderful children, knowing that without those items laid out before my eyes, they would not be having the same experience as my children. It is truly an expression of love and grace, people giving without discrimination, without asking who benefits. In November of each year, the workshop gets started by two big events, the Toy Run and a Red Kettle Kickoff Luncheon. We were astonished again this year by the sight of over 3,500 motorcycles parading to the Toy Run. That was soon followed by the Red Kettle Kickoff Luncheon, which witnessed this year over $100,000 being raised in less than 2 hours. And $100,000 by this community. It was phenomenal. One of the guests asked to witness was a child with special needs who expressed his love for the summer day camp. Folks, it is deeply touching, extremely heartwarming, and profoundly rewarding to see pure love, excitement, and joy expressed that way. And to be a small part of it behind the scenes is simply magical. William Booth, along with his wife Catherine, founded the Salvation Army in London, England in 1865, and thank God they did. By 1880, the Army had spread to the U.S. Operations began here in Clark County, Ohio in 1885. The famous Red Shield, which dates back to 1896 and serves as the trademark for the Salvation Army social services, is now recognizable in 132 countries. Another interesting fact is Peter Drucker, the godfather of business management and efficiency, stated that the Salvation Army is by far the most efficient organization in the U.S., a quote which appeared in Forbes magazine. These anecdotes illustrate the spirit which surrounded President Eisenhower in 1954 when he first established Salvation Army Week, proclaiming in part, "Among Americans, the Salvation Army has long been a symbol of wholehearted dedication to the cause of human brotherhood, and, giving freely of themselves, the men and women of the Salvation Army have won the respect of us all." So comes Salvation Army Week 2023. We are delighted to share that 19 restaurants in Clark County are joining in the celebration as we raise money to benefit our summer day camp for kids with special needs. Namely, they are Los Mariachis, Salado Deli, La Torte Dolce, Crust and Company, New Orleans Grill, Winans, Young's Dairy, Catanzaro's Carriage Inn, 571 Grill, Casa del Sabor, Poppy's Smokehouse, Catawba General Store, Charlo's, Colonial Pizza, Coffee Expressions, The Last Queen, Catanzaro's Pizza and Subs, Harvester Inn, and All Seasons. An anonymous donor has agreed to match up to $2,500 for the dollars raised in this effort. For more information, please visit our Facebook page, Salvation Army Clark County, Ohio. On behalf of the entirety of the Clark County Salvation Army Corps, I humbly thank you for this platform and for your time and attention this evening. Thank you.
That's the second.
Bobby will get a.
I say let's say the party. Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful.
Need your block. I'm already giving her the evil eye. You need to set.
This is what.
Huh? Just 7. Start.
Hey. All right, now.
Okay, the meeting of the City Commission is called to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrad?
Here.
Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
Ms. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here.
Mr. Copeland?
Here, please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Our God, we're grateful to congratulate those organizations in our community that serve our people well. Help us to make good decisions this evening for the people of Springfield, and we pray in your name. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Clerk will call the roll.
Can we work on the minutes? We start
Yeah.
with that?
Wait a minute.
Minutes of the last meeting?
What?
Can we have an approval of the minutes from the last meeting?
There a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved. Second?
Been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrad?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Now we're ready for first readings?
I think so.
Yes. Amending the ordinance, amending ordinance number 9190, passed March 12, 1991, and commonly known as the codified ordinances of the city of Springfield, Ohio, by repealing and replacing certain sections of chapter 931 entitled Public Infrastructure Improvements and chapter 1211 entitled Improvement Standards and Specifications, authorizing the purchase of 4 Ford Police Interceptors of the newest model year available from National Auto Fleet Group for an amount not to exceed $200,284.52 through Sourcewell pursuant to the Sourcewell Contract Purchasing Cooperative Program in accordance with the provisions of Section 9.48 of the Ohio Revised Code. Approving and authorizing the execution of an infrastructure agreement for the development and financing of public improvements for the Melody Park project. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with American Structure Point Incorporated for engineering services for the elevated water tank improvements and recoating project at the water treatment plant for an amount not to exceed $55,400. Authorizing the city manager to enter into amendment number 9 to the agreement for professional engineering consulting services between the city and Strand Associates Incorporated in connection with the combined sewer overflow long-term control plan to extend the completion date to December 31, 2023. There's also one additional item that's been added to the agenda near the end. That's also a first reading. And it is authorizing a contribution to the Springfield Promise neighborhood in the amount of $1,000 to support the Southside and Bloom Garden Tour.
Any questions or comments from commissioners on
Yes.
first readings?
Yes. In terms of item 136-23, I will be abstaining from consideration or voting on that item because I have a conflict of interest. Our daughter is employed to do some graphic work, and I'm involved as president of Keep Clark County Beautiful in one of the sites, the sunflower site. So I will abstain from all consideration in that item.
I have a question on 12723. What are the changes to the public infrastructure and the standards and specifications, Brian?
Yeah, I'll have Chris Moore step up to the podium, but a lot of it is some housekeeping items, changing some things that have been in place, but like sidewalks as an example, 4 feet to 5 feet and so forth. So Chris?
So this affects 2 chapters. I will hit on 931. I will hit the high points, and anything that I think would be of concern. So primarily in there, we are doing housekeeping with things like not requiring people to bring drawings on Mylar or fabric pieces of paper like they used to have to, telling them we want it electronically. We are removing the specifications for what how a roadway should be constructed because they were very specific, and this points them to the manual on how you should design roadways based on what a neighborhood or a road is going to have. We eliminated some requirements on drawings that were unnecessary. They were costing developers extra money, and we didn't need them, so we don't want to require them to put them on there. And lastly, we are removing some specificity from the streetlights. The streetlight requirement was very specific, stating exactly what kind of bulb and fixture, and we should not be that specific in here. We have some flexibility to meet our standards.
So where this affects the general public, it's going to be more user-friendly to turn in plans and things like that.
Correct.
For approval.
The things in that chapter, going from memory, every one of those, to me, makes it more user-friendly for a developer to submit plans.
Right.
And gives them more flexibility on how they design their subdivision. On the next chapter, the points of interest, one of them is requiring sidewalks to be 5 feet wide instead of 4. 5 is pretty standard most places, but there was a 4 foot number in here. We want to make sure 5 foot is the minimum width for sidewalk. And we are asking that as developers work through their development, when they get to a place where they're going to install their electric lines and gas lines, that they give us a plan. So we don't have instances where our utilities are installed and then gas or electric utilities go on top. That is very standard. If the gas or electric company goes to replace the lines on Fountain Avenue, they would have to give us a plan. But currently, there's no requirement in new subdivision for them to show us where they're going to put those. So the gas and electric companies will need to do that now. Those are that's really every point, not just the high points. That's every point in those.
Back to the 4 and 5 foot concrete, if it's 4 feet now, it's going to stay 4 feet. They don't have to make it 5.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. This is when new plans come in. If the sidewalk is listed as 4 feet, we would send them back comments to make it 5 feet.
fine. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anything else on first readings? Clerk will proceed with second reading.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for demolition services with Tony Smith, doing business as Tony Smith Wrecking and Trucking, for a period of 1 year with an option to renew for an additional 1 year period for an amount not to exceed $400,000.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
I was just wondering, roughly how many homes will, on the average, will this provide for demolition?
We're still averaging about 10,000 a demo, so $10,000 per demo. So there's the math of that 40.
Up
Yeah.
40?
Yeah.
Like 40.
40, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not talking in the mic. 40. It certainly doesn't go as far. We used to average about 7,000 to 7,500 a home, so it's definitely gone up in price.
But it puts us, be it a small dent in the number of structures that need to be demolished.
Yep, it continues our path. Again, we cannot demolish our way out of our problems, but it is a tool as we continue to rebuild and revitalize neighborhoods.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrad?
Yes?
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract with J.L. Cook General Contractors for the City Hall parking garage repairs and plaza redesign project to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $120,688 for a total amount not to exceed $6,307,048.33.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrad?
Yes?
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into amendment number 4 with the agreement with Property Registration Champions, LLC, ProChamp, to extend the contract period to February 11, 2024, and confirming and approving related services provided from February 11, 2023 to the effective date of this ordinance.
Move.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Yes, I was wondering, what is this property registration used for? Is it for the vacant property or the rental property or both?
This is for the vacant property
Vacant
registry.
property.
And we've had a relationship with ProChamps since the adoption of the vacant property registry.
And it's gone very well.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrad?
Yes?
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a sanitary sewer and water tap development incentive agreement with D.R. Horton, Indiana LLC for the development of a single-family residential subdivision within the city.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrad?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to accept a deed for donation of property located at 68 West Columbia Street from Spring Forward.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrad?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing for payments therefor and declaring it an emergency therein.
I'll move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Providing for supplemental appropriations within various funds and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement by and between the City of Springfield, Ohio, and the International Union of Police Associations, police clerk, directing the implementation and performance of the provisions of such agreement and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions, comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving the submission of a grant application through the Ohio Department of Transportation, Aviation Division in an amount up to $412,834 for the replacement of precision approach path indicator lights on runway 1533 at the Springfield Beckley Municipal Airport, authorizing an expenditure of up to $78,636 to be used as local matching funds, authorizing the city manager, law director, airport manager, and the director of finance to do all things necessary for the submission of the application and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? The audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving the submission of an airport improvement program grant application through the Federal Aviation Administration in an amount up to $2,277,777, authorizing the city manager, law director, airport manager, and the director of finance to do all things necessary for the submission of the application and comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving the submission of an airport improvement program grant application through the Federal Aviation Administration in an amount up to $3,153,007, authorizing an expenditure of up to $157,651 to be used as local matching funds, authorizing the city manager, law director, airport manager, and director of finance to do all things necessary for the submission of the application and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Yes. Second. Oh, I thought it.
Anyone else? Name and age. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Garber Electrical Contractors Incorporated for the installation of a structured cabling system and closed-circuit camera system at the National Advanced Air Mobility Center of Excellence, NAMC, for an amount not to exceed $241,740 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Authorizing the fiscal officer to create a super blanket purchase order as authorized in resolution number 6152 and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrom?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Last, authorizing an increased expenditure in an amount not to exceed $70,000 for a total expenditure not to exceed $170,000 to obtain certified treatment program services from the Mental Health and Recovery Board of Clark, Greene, and Madison counties pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 4511.191 and declaring it an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Question or comment from the commission?
I have a question. What will this be used for? Or can somebody just break this down for me?
Yeah, this is our partnership with municipal court and our judicial side as it specifically relates our partnership with Mental Health and Recovery Board providing for treatment services both in the jail and outside of that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
And that's the end of
That
the agenda
concludes
items.
The agenda. Are there comments from commissioners? Mr. Estrop?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to take a moment to congratulate Tom Franson and Seth Timmerman and all the staff at the Springfield Beckley Airport. As you may have seen, Springfield Beckley was recognized as the Ohio Airport of the Year. And as you saw on tonight's agenda, 4 items relating to that. Springfield Beckley is very much on the move. And we're very proud of what's going on out there. And it undoubtedly is going to add to the economic development of our community and expand the availability of jobs associated with aviation and aerospace. So congratulations to Tom and Seth and all the staff at Springfield Beckley.
I second that. I think they're also hoping for another decision in their favor in the future. Anyone else? Anyone in the audience want to speak to us? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes. Meeting's adjourned.
Amen.